So hello everyone, welcome to the CPCW monthly update for pharmacy contractors and their teams for November 2021. These updates we do every month. They're on or around the first Tuesday of every month, and there's a YouTube playlist which has always got the latest video at the top. So that appears in our newsletter, so please look out for it and subscribe if you find useful. We've got a few topics today, so we're going to talk through, and I'll go through them one at a time. The first one is the public health campaign. So the public health campaign is now live. So this is one of the two mandatory campaigns that we have to take part in. This time round, NHS England and Improvement and PSNC have agreed that we're going to be asked to participate in a winter vaccines campaign, and all of the materials that you need, they've been distributed through newsletters, through alerts. The one thing you've not seen yet that I just wanted to highlight today is that we haven't quite got the tracker on farm outcomes up and live. So we're just waiting for our local NHS England and Improvement team to confirm when that tracker is going to be live. And that will allow contractors to declare that they've participated in the campaign, and for our local NHS England team to be able to see that and to be assured that everyone's there. The next item I wanted to talk about today was the Christmas rota. So each year there's some work done that goes through contractors that should be open around the Christmas period when their opening hours otherwise wouldn't be there. That Christmas rota is funded by NHS England and Improvement, and what they do is they manage the contractor list so that everyone gets a fair share of them over several years. That's coming, so really I just wanted to flag to you to watch out for it, and that'll come via NHS England and Improvement directly into your NHS shared mailboxes. So please keep your eye out for that and make sure you get it so you can make arrangements as soon as possible. A couple of things to highlight to you today. There's some needle exchange and supervised consumption mandatory training for Warrington-based contractors, the first of which is later on tonight at 7 o'clock, but there's another one next week. Please, I think we've contacted through quite a lot of contractors who haven't registered for it but are registered for the training. That training is mandatory, so we'll have to make sure that you can attend one. And what we'll do is we'll talk to them tonight at the event, see if we can possibly record it and host it, although that's not guaranteed. Normally it was a mandatory face-to-face training. This year, for the first time, it's going to be on Teams, and we can do it that way. Another thing to talk to you about is a survey that our LPC are doing. So CPCW have got a workforce survey, and there was email that came out to you last week with links on it. It'll also be repeated in the newsletter. This should be relatively quick and easy to do, but it's really our way as an LPC of getting a feeling for how you're doing, how the workforce is doing, and how you're coping with the many strains that we all know are on there. And then the last topic for today is we want to talk to you around some issues with the GP referral into the community pharmacist consultation service. And Sarah, who's our engagement officer, is going to talk to us about it and share some data around it. So if I can hand over to Sarah.
Thanks, Adam. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen.
Fab, thanks, Sarah.
Okay, so just a quick update on the GPPCS service across our locality. So how does that look? So over the course of this financial year, we've had a steady increase in referrals. So total referrals made, we've had 4,730 referrals made across Cheshire and Wirral, which is outstanding, phenomenal. We've had 3,526 of those referrals actually completed within our pharmacies. So we've got a revenue coming into our pharmacies of almost £50,000. But what that does mean is that we've lost quite a bit of revenue on dropped and accepted referrals that haven't been actioned, as well as also the referrals that have not been processed in pharmacy whatsoever. So I myself have been working with the contractors to try and minimise those levels. As we know, he's really busy at the moment and things can be missed. So I'm working on bringing those referral rates down. So if there's anything that you can do to obviously remind your colleagues as well, that would be much appreciated. So as you can see, we've had a steady increase in the amount of referrals that have been produced each month. So I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail on that. So as from April, we had 316 referrals made. We're now up to 825. And as you can see from the graph, we've had a steady increase of those referrals coming into community pharmacy. And we've had a steady increase of those referrals being actioned in pharmacy. So we are getting into that pattern of making sure those referrals are being checked. But we just do have a few contractors that are still having a few issues. So if we can just make sure that our staff, as well as our pharmacists, are all alert and trained on that service, it would be much appreciated. So how does that look as a percentage? So as you can see from the pie diagrams here, we're around about the same figure each month. So we're hitting around about the 70 to 75% mark of completed referrals. And we've had 4% of those referrals not be in action this month. So we need to try and get that down really to zero. Because obviously we have just used the October information and we're now into November. So 4% of those overall referrals from October were not actioned at all, which meant those patients were not getting access to that treatment, which is vitally important that we bring that figure down to zero. And as I say, I'm working with the contractors. I'm doing daily reports to see what outstanding referrals are on the system, contacting the contractors, and obviously if that hasn't been resolved, then it will be highlighted to yourselves as area managers as well. So going through those dropped referrals, as I was saying, we've had quite a few dropped referrals in our area, or at least over, the last few months. We've seen some of those referrals dropped when they're actually actionable in the pharmacy. So some of the reasons why we've had some dropped referrals is there's no pharmacist accredited, and they were unable to diagnose ear infections and prescribe antibiotics. If you haven't got a pharmacist in to provide that service, it is vitally important that the staff are made aware to update their DOS profile to make sure no referrals are being sent to that pharmacy from the practice, and it will just stop them from coming through and you not being able to process them, because we don't want that. We've had patients over 65 are not covered by the minor ailment scheme. Okay, so if the patient isn't covered by the minor ailment scheme, it's just about making sure that patient is escalated to the right pathway. So referring that patient back to the practice might have been the best course of action. And it's just making sure that our contractors know that as part of that scheme, if we have to make a referral back to the practice, we can still actually claim for the work that's being carried out, the information that we've passed over with that. Obviously, patient bought an OTC medicine for caniston, and they've actually carried out the referral, they've conducted the consultation, they provided a treatment, but then they've rejected the claim. So we just need to make sure that our pharmacists and our contractors are actually aware of what the process is in those referrals, and that's what we're doing, myself working with those contractors, and obviously identifying these dropped referrals and educating them to stop that from happening in the future. So as I was saying, the ramifications of these referrals, so those examples of the referrals where patients were advised that, they're over 65, they're not eligible for the minor ailment scheme, we could still refer that back to the practice. Over 50% of the rejected referrals could have actually been processed by pharmacy. So we need to really educate our staff to make sure that that dropped referral rate is minimised and that the patients are getting access to the treatment that they require. If a patient requires an onward referral from the pharmacy, it's the responsibility of the pharmacy to make sure that that referral is made to the practice so that they can do that hot transfer to the practice and making sure they're following those escalation processes that we have in place. So what I'm trying to do is work with yourselves and your contractors just to ensure that there is a smooth transition and that they are identifying this as a service that needs to be actioned as soon as possible, given those patients that access to the care that they provide. So it is vitally important that all of your team have access to NHS mail, know about the service, and obviously understand what those referrals mean to the pharmacy so they can highlight it to a locum when it is the non-normal pharmacist present on that day. So it is vitally important that all your team can get involved. And as I say, we just want to work on getting those figures down so that we're getting the most out of this service that our contractors can. And that was just all from me.
Brill, thanks for that, Sarah. I mean, just to strengthen that, There's a couple of things around it. There's a patient at the end of these referrals. It's really important we do. The whole team is aware of the process. The whole team is aware of how we're doing it and to get it right for that patient. Critically, this service, the GP element of it particularly, is the GPs referring into us. So they need to be really confident if we're going to be moving more activity, as we hope we are, through PGDs. And the PGD service is a potential outcome of a CPCS referral. It's not one or the other. It could be both, actually, in tandem, in parallel. And actually, if we're going to get more services from outside of our funding envelope into our pharmacies, we've got to have those referring in really confident that we're going to deal with them well. I suspect there's a number of referrals, as you say from your chart, but actually we're dealing with really well. We're just cocking up the claims process of it. And I think that's something we can do better with and make sure we get the remuneration due to our pharmacies. So thank you for that. Any other points anyone would like to make? No, brilliant. Well, thank you for watching, everyone, for those watching on YouTube. Like I say, if there's anything you particularly want us to cover in the future, please let us know through support@cpcw.org.uk. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.